Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the Icarus arc, Howard Hughes and the gravity of genius. We're going to totally immerse ourselves in this epic rise and fall saga of an absolute aviation legend and Hollywood titan. So strap in. We're about to witness the dizzying heights and, honestly, the terrifying psychological depths of a man who literally tried to conquer the sky.
But, we don't start with the glitz and glamour of Hollywood or the roar of airplane engines. Actually, we start in this incredibly quiet, intimate, and frankly haunting moment. Houston, Texas, 1913. Just imagine an 8-year-old Howard Hughes getting bathed by his mother. She's meticulously washing him, right? But more importantly, she's teaching him how to spell the very specific word to warn him about a recent cholera outbreak. Quarantine. Quarantine. This single moment really pinpoints the psychological seed of his destruction. This extreme, overprotective upbringing. It didn't just keep him safe as a kid, it planted these deep, terrifying roots of severe germophobia and obsessive-compulsive disorder that would one day just completely consume him.
Which brings us to this massive central question. What actually happens when the man who conquers the sky becomes a prisoner of his own mind? See, Hughes escapes the claustrophobia of his youth and just explodes onto the Golden Age Hollywood scene in 1927. He's young, he's the heir to this massive fortune, and he's got this fierce, totally unstoppable ambition. Outwardly, the guy is a force of nature, a visionary redefining what's even possible in cinema and aviation. But inwardly, that little boy, the one terrified of invisible diseases, he's still right there, hiding just beneath the surface. And this is the duality we're going to track today, those soaring public triumphs that were masking a terrifying private descent. To really wrap our heads around the scale of Hughes' ambition, just look at the movie that captured his life. Martin Scorsese's The Aviator was produced with a staggering budget of $110 million. And you know what? That perfectly mirrors the sheer, oversized ambition of Hughes himself. When Hughes showed up in Hollywood to make his World War I aerial epic Hell's Angels, he operated with that exact same blank check mentality. He brought in Noah Dietrich to run his massive business empire for one reason, so Hughes could pour absolutely every ounce of his energy and millions of his own dollars into creating a cinematic spectacle the world had literally never seen before.
Now, ambition is one thing, right? But obsession is a whole different beast. His relentless perfectionism while making Hell's Angels was just staggering. First off, he literally waited endlessly for the perfect cloud formations to shoot his aerial dogfights. He grounded the entire production, just burning through cash, all because the sky didn't look exactly the way he pictured it. Then, get this, just as the silent film is finally almost finished, the jazz singer comes out and introduces the world to talkies. Does Hughes compromise? No way. He reshoots the entire film with sound at a completely exorbitant cost. And finally, even after it becomes this massive hit at its Hollywood premiere, he's still not satisfied. He orders it to be recut. This is the textbook definition of a man who refuses to accept anything less than perfection, no matter what it costs him financially or emotionally.
But as much as he was conquering Hollywood, his real passion, his true love, was always the sky. And the pacing of his life in the 1930s and 40s was just breathtaking. In 1935, he test flies this incredibly innovative plane, the H-1 Racer, setting a brand new speed record of 352 miles per hour. And he did that even though he crash-landed into a beet field when he ran out of fuel. Then, 3 years later in 1938, he breaks the world record by flying all the way around the globe in just 4 days. By the mid-1940s, his momentum is totally unstoppable. He's signing massive contracts with the Army Air Forces for the XF-11 spy plane and that mammoth H-4 Hercules troop transport. He wasn't just flying planes, you guys. He was dragging the entire aviation industry into the future through sheer force of will.
But as he's scaling these impossible heights, the pressure really starts to mount. And it's pulling him in two completely opposite directions. On one hand, you have his incredible romantic relationship with the fierce, independent Katharine Hepburn. She wasn't just a partner, she was his only real lifeline to sanity. She helped ease his worsening OCD symptoms and kept him somewhat tethered to reality. But on the absolute other side, lurking in the shadows, you've got these cutthroat corporate and political betrayals. See, Hughes had bought a majority interest in TWA, which directly challenged Juan Trippe, the super powerful chairman of Pan Am. And Trippe, using corrupt Senator Owen Brewster, pushed a bill that would literally give Pan Am a total monopoly on international air travel. So it was this vicious battle, love and stability on one side, battling corporate greed and his own mounting paranoia on the other.
And unfortunately for Hughes, those shadows were starting to grow longer.
And then, gravity reasserts itself. 1946, the XF-11 test flight. This twin-engine reconnaissance plane suffers a catastrophic engine failure, and it violently tears right through a Beverly Hills neighborhood. We're talking shattered glass, twisted metal, houses completely ripped apart. Hughes is critically injured. He miraculously survives the crash. But let me tell you, this violent impact is the definitive turning point of our story. That glamorous rise, it ends right here, and the terrifying free fall begins.
Now, to really understand this fall, we have to understand the invisible enemy taking over his mind: obsessive-compulsive disorder. OCD is a mental health disorder characterized by recurring, unwanted thoughts, the obsessions, and irrational, repetitive behaviors, the compulsions. Following the crash, as his shattered body slowly healed, his mind began to deeply fracture. The whole tone of his life shifts away from the rich, saturated technicolor of his glory days and just plunges into dark, film noir shadows. Those little eccentricities that people used to just brush off as the harmless quirks of a billionaire genius, they morphed into real, paralyzing psychological terror.
From there, the downward spiral accelerates violently. It's like the walls start closing in as these heavy blows just land consecutively. After World War II, the military abruptly cancels its order for the giant H-4 Hercules. You probably know it as the Spruce Goose. Going against literally all sane financial advice, Hughes mortgages TWA's assets to fund the whole thing himself. Meanwhile, his paranoia is wildly bleeding into his personal life. He actually wiretaps the phones of his new romantic interest, Ava Gardner, which of course pushes her away completely. And then comes the ultimate violation: an FBI raid on his home, searching for evidence of war profiteering. His enemies are closing in, his money is bleeding out, and his mind simply cannot bear the weight. He is pushed entirely over the edge. The contrast between his two worlds at this point is just visceral. The public saw this defiant billionaire, an aviation pioneer bravely facing down a corrupt Senate investigation. But behind closed doors, the reality was a portrait of tragic loneliness. He retreated entirely from the world, locking himself inside a claustrophobic, isolated screening room, his own self-imposed germ-free zone. He lived naked. He literally walked on tissue boxes just to avoid floor contamination. He stored his urine in glass bottles for months. Think about that for a second. The man who boldly mapped the globe and defied gravity was now utterly terrified to even step outside a single dark room. So as the Senate hearings loomed closer, Senator Brewster and Juan Tripp were feeling pretty arrogant and confident. They firmly believed this mentally broken billionaire wouldn't even show up, let alone put up a fight. So the question hanging heavily in the air was this: could this shattered man, walking on tissue boxes in the dark, somehow summon the strength for one final illusion of triumph? Well, with the help of Ava Gardner, who washed, dressed, and groomed him, an invigorated Howard Hughes finally stepped out of the darkness and walked right into the flashbulbs of the United States Senate. What happens next is honestly one of the greatest comebacks in corporate history. Brewster and Tripp went on the attack with their monopoly bill, fully expecting to dismantle a frail, crazy man. But instead, Hughes fiercely takes the microphone. He masterfully defends his legacy and counters their attacks by publicly exposing Tripp's bribery of Senator Brewster. The outcome? The monopoly bill is swiftly defeated in a totally humiliating knockout blow for his rivals. But Hughes goes one step further to really cement his victory. He publicly vows to leave the country if his massive, wooden H-4 Hercules cannot fly. He puts his entire reputation on the line. And then, he gets into the cockpit, and against all odds, he successfully flies the mammoth Spruce Goose. He momentarily reclaims his domain in the sky. He won. He beat the monopoly. He flew the impossible plane. But man, that glory is tragically short-lived. Almost immediately after the flight, this cinematic triumph just drops straight into pure horror. Hughes retreats to a restroom where he suffers a severe panic attack and hallucinations. He stands there at the sink, scrubbing his hands with soap until they are literally bleeding. And as he stares into the mirror at a mind he can no longer control, he just compulsively repeats a single phrase over and over, his voice trailing off into the emptiness. The way of the future, the way of the future, the way of the future. It is such a haunting, devastating realization. His brilliance, his entire vision for the future, is forever trapped inside a broken machine. While the Hollywood adaptation leaves him right there, history requires us to look at the grim epilogue. Because the real-life demise of Howard Hughes was far, far darker than cinema could ever depict.
By 1976, he had completely vanished from the public eye. He was sealed in the penthouse of the Desert Inn in Las Vegas, heavily addicted to painkillers. When he finally passed away en route to a hospital, he was so emaciated and unrecognizable that the FBI actually had to use his fingerprints just to confirm his identity. X-rays later revealed broken hypodermic needles lodged under his skin. It was an incredibly tragic, agonizingly lonely end for a titan who had once held the entire world in his hands.
So we've seen the spectacular visuals, the groundbreaking innovation, and the immense wealth. But we've also seen the tissue boxes, the bleeding hands, and that crushing absolute isolation. When you look at the totality of Howard Hughes' life, this brilliant ascent followed by a horrific crash, you really have to ask yourself, was the glory of touching the sky truly worth the devastating cost of his own perfectionism? It's a profound question about the very nature of ambition itself, and it's exactly what makes this saga absolutely unforgettable. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.